Hi babes, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the books that I wish I could read again for the first time. Call me Five Sauce. I wish that I could wake up with amnesia because I want to read these books again for the first time. The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This book went by so fast. There were parts where I was bored. There were parts where I was like, this could have been left out. I didn't need this. But all in all, this book made me think. It makes you contemplate the meaning of life. It literally, that's what it did. And I wish I could read it again for the first time and get that insight again for the first time, because the way that it just changed my perspective on so many things was unreal. Literally unreal. Words on paper did that. It's about Nora, who decides that she wants to unalive herself. She doesn't want to be living anymore. Her life is miserable. It literally says it on the back. That's the whole point of the book. And when she decides to, she wakes up in a library. It's called the Midnight Library. And in the Midnight Library, there is thousands upon thousands, probably, I think it was an infinite number of books based on different decisions that she could have made in her life that would have altered the way her life went. And while she's in the Midnight Library, she can read these books and see which life she preferred or which life was better or worse for her, and see how each decision could have played out. And it gives you a lot of thinking points, a lot, because it's quite literally based on every decision she has ever made, major and minor. And you get to thinking about how all the decisions you made quite literally affect where you are right now. So that's why I love this book. There was no trigger warning that an animal would die in this, so I'm letting you know now, an animal dies in this. And I think I picked it up maybe like a week after we had to put our family cat down, and I was not okay after that part. That was the first thing that happened in the book, and I was like, oh, of course I go into this book thinking it's gonna be like obviously life-altering and change my perception on things, but I didn't know that it was gonna hit a little too close to home at that moment. So I'm letting you know now, if you want to read this book, there is an animal death in the beginning of the book. There's further explanation for the death later on in the book, so it's not just like the animal dies out of nowhere and you don't know why. That's that book. The next book is If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. I read it because my best friend Emma read it, and she was like, Nita, Nita, you need to read this. Please read this, please. I need you to read this. So I did. I remember so vividly, I finished this at 2:45 a.m. one morning. I had stayed up all night reading this book, and I finished it at 2:45 a.m. and I cried for 40 minutes straight. You know he dies. You know, it's literally you can tell from the title that someone dies, that he dies, whoever he is. And it just ripped me to shreds. If you don't know what this is about, that's crazy. I don't know where you've been, but it's about Autumn and Finn, and they are childhood best friends, but they kind of grow apart as they go through middle school and high school, but eventually they grow back together. Them not being friends is a major part of the book, and then they become friends again, and it was heartbreaking. It was really heartbreaking because you thought they were gonna get their time and then they didn't. And just I remember reading it and thinking, this is very adolescent. Obviously it's a YA book, but I just remember thinking this is so out of my comfort zone because it's so adolescent. It's clearly catered to young readers with the writing style, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it, and it still broke my heart and tore me to shreds. And I wish I could go back and appreciate the writing style for the first time, and appreciate the writing style, because you can see how the style of writing progressed as the narrator got older. But I wish I could read it for the first time again. It was so good. The next one is Bittersweet Memories by Katharina Mora. This was my first book by Katharina Mora, and I read it on Kindle, and then I got it for Christmas, I think 2 years ago. It's not a huge popular book that I know of. I remember seeing a TikTok about it, and it was literally just one of those TikToks with quotes on it, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, let me read it. I read this in 2 days. I read this in 2 days. It was so good. I was at my friend's beach house, and we were doing things. Like, we went for a whale watch, and I was reading this. I was inside of the boat reading this, not looking at whales, reading this. I finished it on the boat, and I cried on the boat. This was so good, and I know that it's kind of like getting a little more popular. Let me read the back for you. Let me just read the back for you. I feel like I've talked about this book multiple times on my channel, but let me read the back. When her boyfriend breaks her heart, Alana goes after his older brother in a quest for revenge. It would have been simple if he wasn't also her new boss. As they work together, it soon becomes clear Silas knows more about her than he should. He knows about the past she's forgotten and the memories that evade her, but some secrets are better left buried. That gives you no context, actually. Fun fact, like, that gives you no context for what you're going to get into, because you think it's going to be like ex-boyfriend's brother. It's not. It's not. Her and Silas have a history prior to Silas's brother. She's who I wish I could be at this moment, because she wakes up with amnesia one day and doesn't remember Silas and ends up dating his brother by some miracle. But Silas is a great book boyfriend because he creates a whole business. We know how Zaid Meadows has like a security business and he's like a millionaire. That's fantastic, right? Silas created his whole security business to find Alana. It didn't work, clearly, so I think that says a lot about his the business's skills, because she found him, actually. Or maybe he did find her. I think he did at a coffee shop, but like not anything to do with the business. Anyways, this was great. This was fantastic. I had the best time reading this. Please read it and please let me know what you think, because this is one of my top like god tier books. Like, I love this book. Please read it and let me know what you think. The next book, a lot of people talk about it. It's a very popular book. I've talked about it, I think, multiple times on my channel. It's The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book is fantastic. It is so glamorous and old Hollywood. Literally, that's what it's about. Glamour and old Hollywood. But it's also intriguing. There's a twist at the end that I did not see coming. I wish I could read this again for the first time because of how much fun I had while reading it. Like, the old Hollywood glamour and the old Hollywood drama and the lavish lifestyle and all of that. I think it's so interesting. This book is about Evelyn Hugo. She's an actress, or she was an actress, so it goes from past to present timeline. In the past timeline, you get to see her and her rise to fame and her love and affairs and drama and acting and all of that. You get to see all of that. But in the present timeline, you follow a journalist who is interviewing Evelyn Hugo, and Evelyn refused to do any type of journalism or have any interviews, and she finally was like, I want this specific person to interview me, and she can write my interview or like write an article about me. So you get the journalist perspective in the present timeline while she's talking to Evelyn, and it's just very interesting to see how it all plays out and how things connect. So interesting. This one is a recent read, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. This is also a TV show. I watched the first episode, I think, and the TV show is not quite like the book. Like, it doesn't really align with the book as much as I was hoping it would. But anyways, this book is so good. I listened to it on audiobook because I didn't have the physical copy, but I really wanted to listen to it or like read it in general. So I listened to the audiobook and it was fantastic. It was a great time. I really liked the story and the way that it was told. It wasn't told from like, I think it was third person, but I also think sometimes it was like first person. I don't know. I'm not completely sure how that worked, but I think that all in all, this book was so interesting. I really liked the storyline. It kind of jumped from past to present, and it never really told you when it was jumping. You kind of just like jumped. You just moved and you were in the past. But it follows a chemist, a female chemist in the 60s, Elizabeth Zott. You get to see Elizabeth and how she struggles with the societal and gender expectations of her time, because it's based in the 1960s and she is a chemist in the 1960s, which is unheard of for females. and you get to see how her colleagues don't really respect her and how that affects her and how she does her job. And then you get to see her fall in love and then go through tragedy, and then she has to bear the weight of being a single mother in a society where normally you were expected to be married when you had children. It was frowned upon, basically, to be a single mother in this society, and you get to see how she struggles but also beats those societal gender norms, and she ends up creating a TV show. She basically just teaches women through the TV show, one, how to cook great food, fantastic food, but also teaches them how to overcome those societal barriers that were in place for women to remain within this box. You also get to see how she struggles with all that. And I thought that it was so great. It was so empowering. I really like this book. The next one, I do have the full series. I'm just letting people borrow my books. So it is the ACOTAR series. I know so many people like hate the series. Like, it's a very controversial series. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people love it. I'm one of the people that loves it. I loved it. I read it on my channel as a reading vlog. It's a 2-part reading vlog. And I go more in depth about why I love the series so much. It's not even about like the fact that it's a fantasy series and that there's smut in it. There really isn't a whole lot of smut. There is smut, but there's not a whole lot. That is not what did it for me. I think that the reason I loved it so much was that Sarah J. Maas was able to take real life struggles with mental health and make them relatable through this fantasy story. So a lot of the mental health struggles within this series, they're represented and they're relatable, but not in a way that's triggering. They're relatable in the way that you read it and you're like, I felt that way too, but you don't get so triggered by it where you're like, I cannot read this. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, the way that she just represented mental health and mental health issues and the after effects of severe trauma throughout the books, and how you get to see the characters struggle with that trauma and that PTSD, but also overcome it and grow through it. I thought it was so beautiful the way that she did it, and also her writing was just so immersive. Like, I was not sitting in bed or sitting on my couch reading this book. I was fully in that world, and that's why I loved it so much. It didn't have anything to do with the smut or the romantic elements, which were fantastic. By the way, the men in this series are fantastic. Not Tamlin, but like Rhysand, like the Bat Boys, we love them. But it wasn't even like, you could have taken them out and just left me with Feyre and left me with Nesta and given me just their stories and not given me any other perspectives, and I still would have loved it because of the way that she represents mental health and the progression of growing, like going through your deepest, darkest parts, how your mind is quite literally setting you up for failure a lot of the time after trauma, because the trauma isn't even the darkest part. It's the after effects of it that are quite literally suffocating, and you get to see these characters go through all of that and come out the other end. So that's why I love the ACOTAR series and why I wish I could read that again for the first time, because I think I read it at the right time in my life, but I also think that reading it now would be even better. I think I would appreciate it a lot more and notice a lot more things that I didn't, but I can't read it again for the first time. I can just reread it, and that's my plan. I plan on rereading it. The last of the physical books, you've seen me talk about this a lot. You have. I explained it in my last video, but it's The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This book was so good. I can't even like explain to you how good it was and why I want to read it for the first time again. Actually, I can. I read this when I was first getting back into reading. I've talked about this a lot. Not a great book to read when you're first getting back into it, because there's a lot, like, the writing is so complex in a way. It's not like simplistic writing. It's complex and has deeper meaning, and it tells a story, and just the writing style is more elevated for the level of reading that I was at the time, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless, and I really do wish I could read this again for the first time, because it left me hollow inside. Not even like, I couldn't even cry. I just felt hollow, and it was just like, I sat there afterwards just staring at the wall. Like, that was beautiful. That was one of the best things I've ever read, and still to this day, one of the best pieces of literature that I have ever read. It's about Achilles and Patroclus, and it's told from the perspective of them as lovers rather than brothers, essentially, or best friends. It's told through the lens of them being lovers, and you get to see them from childhood growing up together up until tragedy hits and they're at war. And it was just fantastic. I cannot praise this enough. That concludes the physical books that I have. And then the other books that I have for this video, I don't have in my library because I haven't purchased them. A Love Letter to Whiskey. I read that book last year on vacation when I went to Florida, and it was so good. I wasn't expecting it to be what it was at all. There were moments where I wanted to throw the book across the room or throw my Kindle across the room. Like, there were moments where I did not want to continue reading because of what the book was, like what I was reading. It's a romance. I don't recall the names of the characters. I know one of them is B, the male love interest, and they are not childhood best friends. They meet in high school and they become best friends, and then they kind of get separated. And there's clearly chemistry right from the moment they met, but life happens and they kind of drift apart in a way. Not really, but they lose contact with each other, and then they meet again in college, and it's just a constant right person, wrong time. Like, it is the epitome of right person, wrong time, but constantly throughout their life. It's always one of them has a significant other and the other one doesn't, but they both still love each other. One of them's moving away and the other one doesn't want to move, and it's not the right time for them, ever. I don't even know how to put it. That book made me want to drink whiskey. The narrator, B, describes the male love interest as whiskey. Like, his eyes, his voice, his skin, his hair, everything about him is whiskey. And it was beautiful. I wish I could read it again for the first time, specifically just like isolated somewhere and just sitting down and reading it, because I was on vacation, so we were go, like constantly out. But I wish I could sit down and read that again for the first time because it was amazing. And the last book that I want to talk about in this video is, I believe it's We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. That book I read in high school, and I still remember it to this day because it was just so good. I finished it I think the book fell, and it really freaked me out. I read the book in high school. I remember finishing it in my car, and I was in my car at a soccer field waiting for my brother to finish his soccer game, and I literally I remember sitting there zooming through it. It was so good. I loved it. I don't remember enough to tell you like a synopsis, but I just remember the feeling that it evoked from me, and it was just like such a good read. It's about a girl whose family is like super rich, and they have this island that they go to every summer. Her cousins go, and I think her cousins brought a friend, and she and this friend have like a connection. But something happens, and she's the one who is like left out. Like, the family keeps it a secret. I don't know. That's a horrible synopsis, but that's basically what I remember from it. And that's also all I have for this video, so I hope that you enjoyed. If you have any books that you wish you could read again for the first time that you think I should read, please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video very soon. Bye!